Slim and beautiful is the way. You then also had Trump claiming that none of this should have been a surprise to Musk.
He knew every aspect of this bill. He knew it better than almost anybody. And he never had a problem until right after he left.
However, you had Musk denying knowing anything about the bill and pointing out that it was released and passed so fast that even members of Congress didn't read it. And, now we're at the stage where Musk is digging up old Trump tweets and reposting them, where you had Trump criticizing large spending bills and writing things like, wise words. And where is the man who wrote these words? Was he replaced by a body double? Where is this guy today? And then, in classic Elon Musk fashion, he put out a poll about whether to start a new political party that represents the 80% in the middle, which, hey, I think would be a very, very interesting test. Though I'm not even sure Musk's vast wealth could break the two-party system in the United States. With all that said, as far as the here and now, we're gonna have to wait to see where this goes, but just give my opinion. I am personally gonna just sit back, get some popcorn, and enjoy the show, because this looks like it's gonna get so nasty. I mean, literally, as I filmed that line, Donald Trump just put out, the easiest way to save money in our budget, billions and billions of dollars, is to terminate Elon's governmental subsidies and contracts. I was always surprised that Biden didn't do it. And adding, Elon was wearing thin. I asked him to leave. I took away his EV mandate that forced everyone to buy electric cars that nobody else wanted, that he knew for months I was going to do, and he just went crazy. Which was followed by Musk dropping possibly the biggest bomb he could, writing, Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That is the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, DJT. He then also added that because Trump threatened to cancel Musk's government contracts, SpaceX was going to start decommissioning Dragon spacecraft immediately. Not to mention that he's been making statements like agreeing that Trump should be impeached and replaced by Vance, or that Trump's tariffs will lead to a recession this year. This drama has also led to Tesla's stock plummeting, and for his part, Trump added that he doesn't mind Elon turned against him, but he should have done so months ago. Right, and at the same time, Trump's allies have been lashing out. Steve Bannon, of course, has long been critical of Musk, and now he's demanding that Musk actually be deported because he thinks that Musk lied to stay in the US, which actually isn't a new claim, because it's long been suspected that Musk worked on his company in the 90s rather than being a student like his visa required. So yeah, buckle up. Enjoy the ride, and in the meantime, let me know your thoughts in those comments down below. But then, next up today, in big breaking Luigi Mangione news, we may have finally learned about the motivation behind the alleged assassination of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Because while his manifesto had already been leaked by a single journalist and was unconfirmed, and in that you saw things like him claiming that this was all pretty trivial to plan out and involved some basic social engineering. But now you have New York prosecutors releasing notes that they say Mangione wrote that make his motive even less in doubt, and it's longer than what was initially leaked. With Mangione allegedly writing things like, so you want to rebel against the deadly greed-fueled health insurance cartel. Do you bomb the HQ? No. Bombs equal terrorism. With him then appearing to go on to state that he definitely wanted to do the killing at the annual parasitic bean counter convention, and adding, it's targeted, precise, and doesn't risk innocence. Most importantly, the point is self-evident. The point is made in the news headline, Insurance CEO Killed at Annual Investors Conference. Frankly, these parasites simply had it coming, and adding to the feds, it had to be done. And you have the feds saying that these writings, they help their case a lot. They're saying it's essentially a self-snitch by Mangione if this writing is actually his, which is why the prosecutors have come out and said, if ever there were an open and shut case pointing to defendants' guilt, this case is that case. Simply put, one would be hard-pressed to find a case with such overwhelming evidence of guilt as to the identity of the murderer and premeditated nature of the assassination. With him then going on to add that Thompson was solely chosen because he was a symbol of what Mangione allegedly considered a deadly greed-fueled cartel. Right, and with all that, if all of that is true, you have many saying that in some ways Mangione did succeed in his mission. Where beyond killing a man after the assassination, you saw a much more frank and open discussion about health insurance in the United States. And while there's been some time and you've seen certain sentiments of certain people shifting, Mangione has garnered a lot of sympathy from the public, with that appearing to be connected with seemingly almost every American having some sort of frustrating or horrible experience with health insurance in the country. Also, another place you saw an impact was with United Healthcare stock, because despite their CEO literally being the victim of an assassination, they're still the ones getting backlash from the attack. Right at the time, we saw people writing stuff like thoughts and deductibles to the family. Unfortunately, my condolences are out of network. And you have YouGov polls showing that the company's approval rating is down into the 30% range, which is the lowest since they've started tracking. With their stock then also taking a beating as the leadership there continues to wobble back and forth with various resignations. So much so that over the past 6 months, the value of United Healthcare Group, which is the parent company, is down over 40%, which is just an insane drop over that time frame, especially when you consider that at the time of Thompson's death, the company was making record profits. Though on that note, it slowed down since then, and back in April, you had leadership telling investors that growth was going to slow down. With that, then leading to a massive 22% drop in the stock price, and it wiped out $100 billion in value. With all that said, for now, the main thing is, Mangione might be screwed if these writings are true and are his, since they would be a clear admission. But for now, we wait to see, and in the meantime, of course, I'd love to know your thoughts here. And then I've got more news for y'all in just a minute, but first, it's truly been awesome seeing you beautiful bastards win the $500 SeatGeek Weekly giveaway and use it to hit up concerts, games, Broadway shows, just y'all living your best lives. Right? And SeatGeek, they're just a great service and a fantastic sponsor. And you should listen up, because, the lineup now is stacked. Kendrick Lamar and SZA, Coldplay, Tyler, the Creator, The Weeknd, Beyonce, Chris Stapleton. It's a wild time for live events. And if you haven't entered yet, what are you doing? It takes 2 seconds, and next week's $500 winner, it could be you. Right? And for the uninitiated, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app with over 28 million downloads. I mean, they've got tickets to over 70,000 events, sports, music, comedy, theater, you name it. And for you first-timers, download the app, scan the QR code, or, hit up the link in the description, and use code Phil for $20 off your first purchase. But then, and this is key, add code PDS to your SeatGeek account as well. That, it gets you $10 off of any ticket and enters you in for a chance to win the weekly $500 giveaway, no purchase required. So if you're a SeatGeek vet, you've used SeatGeek before, that applies to you as well. Just add code PDS to your account and you're in. And again, for everyone, scan the QR code or click the link below, use code Phil and PDS, and go make some memories. But then, next up today, we need to talk about that New York mayoral Democratic primary debate that happened last night.
We denied any
Mr. Cuomo, solutions to public education.
As you can tell, it was nice and orderly. Right, and while that's for a local election, it's an important snapshot of the current moment for the Democrats. Though I'll also say, while there were 9 Democrats up on stage, you could really argue that it was Andrew Cuomo versus everyone else, which makes sense because the former governor has enjoyed a double-digit lead over all the other candidates in nearly every poll so far. Plus, he's had wealthy donors pouring millions of dollars into his campaign, so naturally, everyone was ganging up on him.
It's not only that Andrew Cuomo lied to Congress, which is perjury, he also lied to the grieving families whose loved ones he sent into those nursing homes to protect his $5 million book deal.
The people who don't feel safe are young women, mothers, and grandmothers around Andrew Cuomo. That's the greatest threat to public safety.
The billionaires and the profitable corporations that Mr. Cuomo cares more about than working class New Yorkers.
Not the luxury developers that fund Andrew Cuomo's campaign.
But if one person did stick out from that group, it's got to be Zohran Mamdani. Right? And he's a New York State representative, but he's also carved out a reputation as the most progressive candidate in the race, with him even calling himself a socialist. He's been rising in the polls. AOC just endorsed him today, with her telling the New York Times that he has demonstrated a real ability on the ground to put together a coalition of working class New Yorkers at his strongest to lead the pack. Also hitting Cuomo, saying he belongs to the hedge funds and other wealthy interests. And all of this as, at first, Mamdani's success, it seemed like a long shot. But he's quickly shot to second place in the polls, largely thanks to an energetic social media campaign, support from young progressives, and an eye-catching policy platform. But among other proposals, he's got things like raising taxes on the rich, making city buses free, opening city-run grocery stores, and freezing rents for some tenants. And so what we saw is that he and Cuomo got heated at many points in this 2-hour debate, starting on the first topic, Donald Trump. Because with the ICE raids on immigrants, the suspension of federal funds, and the attacks on Columbia University, not to mention the DOJ's investigation into Cuomo, Trump's presence, it loomed large over the debate stage, with then each candidate trying to make the case that they were the best person to stand up to the president.
I am the last person on this stage that Mr. Trump wants to see as mayor.
I am Donald Trump's worst nightmare as a progressive Muslim immigrant who actually fights for the things that I believe in. And the difference between myself and Andrew Cuomo is that my campaign is not funded by the very billionaires who put Donald Trump in D.C.
Donald Trump would go through Mr. Mamdani like a hot knife through butter. He's been in government 27 minutes. He passed 3 bills. That's all he's done. He has no experience with Washington.
Look, it's true that I don't have experience with corrupt Trump billionaires who are funding my campaign. I don't have experience with party politics and insider consultants. I do have experience, however, with winning $450 million in debt relief for thousands of working class taxi drivers.
But pretty quickly, the focus shifted onto Cuomo himself and the myriad of scandals that he's dealt with over the years. Starting with the accusation leveled by Republicans and some Democrats that his administration let COVID run rampant in nursing homes and then covered up the deaths.
Will you acknowledge the deaths?
Okay.
I mean, it's a very black and white.
Okay.
Did you lie to Congress, or will you acknowledge the death? Right. 15,000 people died, and he still won't answer your question.
No, I told Congress the truth. No, we did not undercount any deaths. When they are all counted, we're number 38 out of 50.
Then you had the moderator pinning him down on a report that his government released at the time that was accused of undercounting deaths.
Just the question is, were you involved in the producing of that report? It's just a yes or no question.
I was very aware of the report. I spoke to it at press conferences.
No, before it was
multiple
released,
times,
Mr.
and I
Cuomo. The
stand
question is
by
about the
report.
production of the report, the
Answer.
creation.
All right, I think
Okay,
I
we're going to move on. We're not getting an
stand by-
answer.
Then you had Cuomo pressed on the sexual harassment allegations that led to him resigning. But instead of addressing that, he just talked about mental health and homelessness.
Every woman watching tonight, he was just given